Bit good, wasn't it? Welcome to episode 2 of Ropey Opinions, episode 2 proper, no more soft relaunch, hopefully, in which I will attempt to recap all the emotion of All In. I want to say what an amazing weekend it was, first of all. Myself and the rest of the Gangbang Gang had a worldie of a time. There's nothing quite like pro wrestling to just make you go fucking apeshit, bring out the purest joy and emotion. The next day at Progress as well, in the Camden in the Electric Ballroom. There was a point where Gene Money comes to the ring to interfere in a match wearing a mask but still with the rest of his gear on. If you're not familiar with Gene Money, that's such a him thing to do. It was glorious. And the whole crowd as one, when he approached the ring wearing a mask, started chanting, "Shit, Daniel Garcia." It makes you think that human cooperation could be a thing, an actual thing. So let's start with the pre-com. I said that last time and frankly I'm sticking with it. It won't be long before they change the name again, so what's the point of calling it? Was it 0 Hour? I think it was 0 Hour. We'll start with the pre-com. Presenter I've not seen before called Arcady Aura. Now, let's not fuck about. That's a stupid name. I hope it's a married name. I really hope her original surname was Covenant. F. Jarrett, this guy here. Emma was delighted when she realised we were just above them. I say just above them, several miles above them, obviously. His ongoing feud with Hangman Page, prior to this day, had something of an old man yells at cloud quality about it. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the cloud doesn't tend to hit you back, let alone lariat you out of your boots on several occasions. It makes you wonder why he keeps coming back for more. And then some of the things he said on the pre-show made me think, oh god, he's actually lost his marbles. He said Jack Perry never won a coffin match, seconds after Lexi Nair had said that Jack Perry was 1-0 in coffin matches. He said that Britt Baker versus Mercedes Moné could headline All In on another day. No, it fucking couldn't, Jeff. And I'm genuinely delighted this happened. He completely proved me wrong by guitaring Hangman to death in the Casino Gauntlet match. And I popped like a bastard for that. I don't even know why. I never even watched Jeff Jarrett very much, except for his run in the Fed years ago. I've never been that fussed. But somehow he's just won me over. Now to more serious business. I have something very unsettling to share with you all. The image is disturbing. Who the hell is this guy? I got this picture. I was passing it up and down the road and people were like, no idea, I don't know who that is. I figured I'd watch the pre-com and it would tell us. No, it wasn't even fucking on there. So all I can assume is that Renee was receiving a sharp reprimand. Finally, because I ignored the 16-man tag, we have some wrestling to talk about. I'm going to take complete credit and say that it was funny, as I predicted it, as I hoped it would be, and that Chris mixing it up with Ishii did wonders for her reputation, so well done AEW. I'm not convinced allowing a babyface to pick the stip for their title match is amazing booking, especially after Willow mostly got her head kicked in by Chris during that match. But hopefully Willow picks a street fight. She has excellent previous form there, and it's just a gore fest. The last thing to speak about on the pre-com is that when Jamie Hayter came out, which was fucking brilliant, obviously, apparently, and I didn't find out this out until the next day, apparently Becky Lynch was trending on social media. Basically what this tells us is that a whole bunch of WWE fans saw a woman with red hair come down the ramp with the name Jamie Hayter in massive flashing letters behind her, and thought, okay, the only logical explanation is that Becky Lynch has been poached by AEW, given a whole new name, which has nothing to do with Becky, which is her real name, and put on the pre-show, where we'll get the minimal pop. The possibility that maybe there was another female wrestler with red hair simply did not occur. Now let us proceed, as so often is the case in my life, with a cell phone. I reckon my guesswork, my predictions for All In were about 50-50, but I got a lot wrong when it came to the ladder match. Orange Cassidy isn't on the card. Yes, he was. I want it to be Death Triangle. I think we all want it to be Death Triangle, don't we? I want Pac to have his Wembley moment. I also want to know that AEW have locked down the Lucha Brothers, one of the 3 best tag teams of all time, to a fucking contract. I think we all want to know that. Give up on Death Triangle! You're only saying it so your girlfriend will fancy
I don't
you.
care about the trios titles. I don't want them to get hot potatoed the way that NJPW used to. I would like the patriarchy to have a run.
Patriarchy my ass. It was fucking cool seeing Pat Gator's Wembley moment, wasn't it? 2 Wembley moments, in fact. Like my erections, these things are so rare that they can't go unremarked. Excalibur made a mistake in this match. He mistook a ladder for a chair. It's easily done. God knows everyone else does it, but he doesn't, so I've got to call him out on it. He did, however, redeem himself fully by saying at the end, Newcastle has their Wembley moment. Now, I don't know if he watches football, but if he does, that was a glorious rib, and I applaud you for it, sir. Moment of the match for me might surprise you, but for context, as we were queuing to get in, insane Wembley security told my girlfriend she couldn't take her body sprays in with her, which she was not at all happy about, because they were like a tenner from Superdrug, and what the hell is she going to do with body sprays? You know, she's from Derby. If she wanted to commit terrorist atrocities, she'd have something much more inventive in mind. They're good at those there. I mean, have you seen the football stadium? Anyway, when Christian uses the spray on the ladder, she's like, how come he gets to get spray in there? And so to Toni Storm versus Mariah May. I thought this was about as good a match as it could possibly have been under the circumstances. Now, I'm going to sound like I'm throwing shade here, but all I'm saying is Mariah May is excellent at so many aspects of the professional wrestling game. Her in-ring game is not yet as good as Toni Storm's. So this match was never going to be Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair at Evolution, which for me is still the high point of women's wrestling. But under the circumstances, everything about this went as well as it could have done. It was fantastic. I thought the interaction with Mariah's mother at ringside was especially clever. She's frequently said that she sees Toni as like a mother figure. So a rejection of that in a more sort of literal sense plays into the character work. Then there's Luther's middle finger, the begging off, the Toni with the shoe, Mariah using the Storm Zero to finish. It was fantastic. From start to finish, I think it might be one of the best stories ever told in women's wrestling. And just to decrease the gravity of what I've just said, the sequence where they kick each other in the foo-foo gave rise to a thought in my brain which caused me to do my terrible photoshopping, and because I thought of it, you all have to see it, and I am apologising for that now. I did think during the wonderful melodrama as it built to a peak that if this storyline had played out in WWE, this match would have been conducted in a paddling pool full of jelly. And so we come to the match you'll all remember I was really looking forward to, Chris Jericho versus Hook. A mate of mine told me that as soon as Fozzy came out onto the stage, he went to the toilet and didn't come back much before the end, despite the regular availability of Wembley toilets making it easy for him to get back quickly. He just didn't bother to try. What sucks about this for me is it fell into the series principle that WWE implied for so long. I saw an amazing post on Reddit years ago after Avengers Endgame came out, which said that if WWE, as was in 2019, booked Thanos versus the Avengers, it would be Thanos v Avengers, Thanos v Avengers, Thanos v Avengers, Thanos v Avengers steel cage match, Thanos v Loki, Avengers interfere, Thanos and Loki versus Avengers and Ultron, Thanos v Avengers. And that's what it felt Jericho and Hook was getting to. It's like, bloody hell, let it go. Give us Okada. Yes, I know, more on that later. I mean, the match was what it was. Probably the right result, even though not the one I predicted. I hope Chris Jericho goes away for a while. I'm recording this in the knowledge that he was on Dynamite last night, so... But then again, he's got a stable going. God knows where he's going to go with it now. I really don't know. But Jericho continues to surprise us, so he might pull something good out of the bag. One thing that annoyed me, it made perfect logistical story sense for Jericho, knowing that if he beat Hook, he never had to face him again, to get Brian Keith and, what's his name these days, Big Bill, into the ring. Straight away from the off, make it a 3-on-1. Where was Shibata? Shibata was by Hook's side throughout all this. We know he was fit. He was on the card, on the pre-com. Why didn't he come to the ring to even the odds? The one positive to be taken from this match is this moment where Hook gives Chris Jericho a suplex with a cricket bat. I would call that a no-ball delivery. And so to the Casino Gauntlet match. And obviously we have to start with the negative. That Mr. Bean skip was bollocks. First thing to do is to count down all the times this match made me pop like a twat. This is another match where I got the result wrong, but I'm not giving myself a hard time for this one. I couldn't have anticipated that one of the mystery entrants would be someone who was on the card earlier. I've seen a lot of shit online about how it doesn't make sense. It should have been Ricochet, it should have been ZSJ, should have been one of the big names. It makes perfect sense. He has a contract he can cash in any time, and Danielson apparently has said that when he loses the title, he'll stop wrestling full time. So if Christian turns up at All Out, brandishing the contract, threatening to beat Danielson when he's knackered, and thereby end his career, the heat will be absolutely legendary. Christian can wave this around as a prop for years, well, not years, but this is a fantastic heat builder moment. It's really clever looking. Also, it doesn't make sense to have Ricochet win it. It just doesn't. The man will have amazing matches in AEW. He's got Ospreay again. Hopefully he'll have Kenny, Page, Danielson even, Swerve. Think of the matches this guy can have. Darby Allin, watch that one through your fingers. It's going to be a fantastic run. He does not need to come straight in, get a world title shot, lose the world title, and then be like Ruby Soho, who never gets really back on her feet from that. The only thing about Christian winning for me was that because we've had Christian versus Swerve, I did think it broadcast the result of the main event a little bit. Although a friend of mine pointed out that Darby Allin had one in the chamber as well, and he would have wanted Swerve, so maybe not. But that was my first thought when Christian won it, was Danielson is definitely winning. But that is not a bad thought to carry with you for the next 2 hours of All In. A few things we've got to talk about. First of all, who had Kazuchika Okada versus Nigel McGuinness at Wembley Stadium on their 2024 bingo card? No, you didn't. And stop pretending you knew what happened at the end of 7 before it happened. No, you didn't. I reckon there's every chance ZSJ will be IWGP champion by Forbidden Door, which is also happening in London. So that's something for us to look forward to. Could build on one of the little things he's teased in that match. Also, when ZSJ goes into that ridiculous pinning combination, we've seen him do this sort of thing so many times, but it's still incredible. Emma was good enough to furnish me with this little pearl. Piss off, I can't even get out of bed properly. The main thing though, with this sort of a match, you're always hoping for surprise appearances, but bloody hell, how much did they deliver? This is the power of wrestling, to suspend disbelief. We all thought it could be Mox. We all thought Copeland was coming out after Cage. We all thought Cole might be coming out, or Kenny, or someone ridiculous like fucking Brock Lesnar. We all thought some ridiculous stuff was going to happen because it could, in that moment, in that magical moment, AEW made us think that magic could actually happen. There's some lovely moments in there, like when McGuinness hit that teeter-totter move, that's a horrible name, and it made sense for Kyle O'Reilly to anticipate it because he does the same sort of thing. I've just remembered that I completely forgot to comment on the tag team title match, and the reason for that is I didn't write any notes. When I was re-watching it, I didn't write down any notes. And that's not good enough, is it, for a match with the Young Bucks, FTR and the Acclaimed? It's just not. It did feel like they were trying to force all three bands. It did feel like they were trying to force all three tag teams onto the bill, put them in the same match. Perhaps people didn't necessarily want a rerun of Bucks versus FTR from last year. It wasn't. It was good. Don't get me wrong. It was always going to be good, but it wasn't remarkable. It wasn't remarkable enough, considering the level of talent involved. And I'm just sort of going to leave it there, really. And that brings us to Will Ospreay versus MJF, which was also shit. No, it wasn't. It was incredible. Ospreay's entrance was absolutely epic, although I'm going to ruin it for you now. I'm really very sorry. MJF's entrance was great as well, but every time he unfurls that gigantic American flag, I can't help but think, "Come, Winston!" And if you get that reference, you and I and Emma should be friends. It really made me laugh when MJF said, "Anyone can flip." Anyone? You sure?
Cost him. CM Punk thinking.
Buck shot!
Punk shot. Goes. Oh! Punk collapses. Oh! There it is.
All right there, ladies and gentlemen.
There's not much to say about this match that hasn't been said. It was an incredible piece of wrestling and an incredible piece of storytelling. The moves MJF was busting out the Crossroads, the Panama Sunrise, attempting to nick the Tiger Driver 91. And I know these are all moves he's done before and will do again, but it really felt like he felt the need to borrow from other people's arsenals because he was worried he couldn't get it done on his own. Now that's really smart storytelling, right up to the delivery of the Tiger Driver 91. And even then, the fact that the count was delayed really sold how brutal the move is. It was genius, absolutely genius booking. Dave Meltzer's pants will have been absolutely destroyed by that match, front and back. So to Mercedes Moné versus Dr. Britt Baker DMD, giving myself double credit for this. Not only did I get the result right, I also predicted it would be a deeply boring piss break match. It was extremely noticeable that there was a lot of a sort of a low hum of chatter both around me and around the stadium during this match. Now, obviously everyone was knackered after MJF Ospreay, and we know this happens. We need that sort of death spot match where they've got no real chance of reviving the crowd, no matter how good the entrances are. And some people said it wasn't really fair on them, but I think it was clever, because you don't want people struggling to get interest up for a coffin match. No one was going to be super interested in this match anyway. The result was a foregone conclusion. That brings me to my biggest issue with Britt Baker. I think she's something of a holdover from a time when AEW's roster was crap. Women's roster, was crap. And, you know, she was like the bright face of the division, and obviously that's what the build was based on. But in building it that way, they sort of, possibly unwisely, threw up a contrast between the women's division they have now, which Mercedes Moné is arguably the face of, and the women's division they had then, when Britt Baker was the face because she was one of the only people anyone knew. It's a reminder not of what Britt Baker's achieved, but of how far AEW women's wrestling has come since she was the top dog. I don't really know where she goes from here. Give Britt her due though, this was easily the best moment of the match. Well played. Let's get on with the negatives. Mercedes Moné desperately needs a better finisher. I think it was Shivani who said on commentary, Britt Baker's one of the best women's champions we've ever had. Well, she's in the top 9. Overall, the match was like an Adele song. Deeply predictable. It's not without merit, but you're fucking glad when it's over. A friend of mine expressed surprise that the coffin match was on second to last. I said it's nothing to do with where they wanted it to go, but any Darby Allin match has to be broadcast after the watershed, and it is now 9:05. I did think, even though Darby has had a flawless record on coffin matches, that the result of this one was a little bit telegraphed. You don't create a new belt and then have someone else take it off him and presumably trash it for the old one a week later. Darby has a shot at the AEW Championship. I thought it's unlikely, but I was really glad that they went with Perry as champion. As far as I'm concerned, he is now a legitimate badass who people should be afraid of in kayfabe. He's still Luke Perry's son, isn't he? Now, his initial heel run really did not work out at all. No one was buying him as a badass or as a bad guy. So it looks like CM Punk throwing a pathetic hissy fit is the best thing that could have happened to him. Which brings us to...
Fuck BM Punk, fuck BM Punk, fuck BM Punk.
The glass. Obviously, I'm talking about the glass. The cheers when Jack Perry, the heel, got real glass out. Jack Perry, who was the second last man that BM Punk faced when he was still a professional wrestler, or a shoot fighter in this instance. Does this count as a shoot fight that Punk won? Because, you know, he's not great at real life fights, is he? As we know from his time in UFC. I'm getting off topic. The chants that followed, Cry Me a River, fuck CM Punk, were amazing. When I was at the Box Park prior to the show, Cult of Personality came on, and the place went mental with boos. BM Punk is the villain, and so he should be. No one should forget that. So to get into this week's Punk Bash properly, this is a man who was effectively given his own show by his boss, where he was allowed to say to the head of talent relations, "You're not allowed to come here." And after throwing a ridiculous hissy fit because someone dared to challenge him, he now works for WWE, where he will never be allowed to say anything without his new daddy Triple H's hand up his arse. Voice of the voiceless, my bollocks. I just want to conclude though by saying that Darby Allin's run as AEW champion, when it does arrive, is going to be fantastic. He's going to go to some ridiculous lengths to preserve that title run, and people are going to be terrified to face him. It's going to be wonderful to behold. The main event, Swerve Strickland versus Bryan Danielson. Will it be Bryan Danielson's final countdown? No, and because I can't think of anything to say about this match that hasn't been said, that it was incredible. It was just incredible. I've never been so emotionally invested in a match in my life. We're going to focus on some lesser thought of aspects. Bryan Danielson is a fantastic wrestler, but he is a bad namer of children. Speaking of those children, if they took up professional wrestling, they occupy an odd space because they are guaranteed to be worse than their father, but guaranteed to be better than their mother. Everything Swerve did in this match, and I think this is going to be overlooked because of the euphoria around Bryan's win, everything Swerve did from the moment he walked out onto the stage was fantastic. He played the role of a ruthless bastard. This is no deviation from the character he was previously playing. He played the role of a ruthless bastard perfectly, seeing into someone who would do anything to keep his title. Again, nothing there that is in any way contradictory to his previous character. He was clearly over as a face when he came out, even though Bryan was already in the ring and people had gone mental for him. Everything was done beautifully. That little moment, followed by the big pressure, was the moment where I thought, they're actually going to kill Bryan Danielson's career. It was flawless. Flawless. You have to say that with one very obvious exception, AEW chooses its world champions exceptionally well. As a fan, being part of 50,000 people doing the yes chant, the yes chants that were still happening in the crowds outside the stadium, it's something I'll never forget. I was at SummerSlam in '92, I was at All In last year, but that was the best live wrestling experience of my life, apart from the time when my boys got into the ring at Resurgence and pinned Amira and Hustle Malone. That's for another episode. I'd just like to end by saying AEW had no Kenny Omega, no Jay White, no Samoa Joe, no Adam Copeland, no John Moxley, no Adam Cole, and they still put on a show of that quality. That is quite amazing. It's not All Out 2021, because Hook Jericho and Monet Baker dragged the standard down, but it was still an incredible show, an incredible emotional show. And for me, nothing in live entertainment can make you feel what pro wrestling does. And I saw Taylor Swift earlier this year. This was better. Until next time.